Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another weekly update. Hope everybody's having a lovely weekend. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, so right after close on Friday, we did end up seeing Moodys downgraded the US's credit rating for the first time ever. All right, so before that, I'm just going to say, guys, we did end up having a Fitch downgrade back on August 1st, 2023, which is going to be right here. All right, guys. So, this is what happened last time. The market was positioned in a different manner than how it is positioned right now. I think we just got the correction over with. I don't think we are going to be, coming back down. If you see anybody telling you the market crash is coming, we're coming back down to these lows, please just keep in mind who you're, listen to who you are taking information from, because that is probably not a reliable source there. In reality, guys, VIX, we did know that the 4-hour RSI was developing this bullish divergence. We talked about it over the last few videos. We talked about it actually when price was still sitting up here. It did not come down and make that divergence low, but we were saying once it did that we were looking for a divergence to form. That does not mean that we are going to be selling right away, but it does tell you that VIX is probably not too far from having a little spike. So the past two trading sessions, Wednesday and Thursday, we did know VIX was just going to be putting in that bullish divergence. So even though, the news seems a bit surprising, I'm not going to say I expected to get, terribly bearish news right after the close. Did not, with how things were looking there. But we will definitely point to, all right, we did have, our warning signs suggesting we should probably be, cooling off here. I've been telling people, hey, all right, it's not a bad idea to be taking your profits, all right. Again, I'm not going to say I thought we were going to have a massive gap down come Monday. I just didn't think we were gonna do it. And although that sounds scary, guys, I'm just going to remind everyone the market is definitely in an uptrend. The market has definitely decided to buy the dip here. The market has definitely decided it wants to go back to all-time highs. I'm not saying it happens immediately, because I don't think it's going to happen immediately. I've been very vocal about that. I thought it was going to do the most painful thing possible, which, in my mind, I thought it was going to bring us up a bit further, get this, what it looks like to be bullish consolidation going or something like that before going up to all-time highs, and then actually get a larger correction, and then, maybe something like this. All right, and then, in the end, regardless, I was expecting the market to mess with everyone. I didn't think it was going to just push up to all-time highs. And now we can see, all right, we didn't go a little bit higher. Okay, the market, well, we did go a little bit higher. It got everybody bulled up to close out the week here. You have a very solid weekly close here. Any dips now are going to be buying opportunities, but now we have a recipe to, I'm not saying we come all the way back down here, but we definitely have the cards right now. If we're going to get a move back down here, like, this is it. It's going to happen. Now, we are going to be looking for the dip to be bought. So I know we didn't go a little bit higher like over there and then pull back. We did end up just pulling back when everybody was all bulled up into Friday's close here. The May monthly OPEX, that was yesterday. And, the thing looks freaking immaculate, okay, across the board. You got freaking immaculate weekly closes, guys. We're looking for higher prices. But that doesn't mean it's coming right now. We are thinking if you come back to this area, the market is very likely going to buy it up. Maybe it takes 1 to 2 weeks to actually play out. But yeah, you're likely going to find buyers if you revisit this area. Now, even if you come a little bit lower, I'm just going to point out how bullish the market is looking. Maybe, just maybe, we come all the way down and fill that gap there, 567.50. All right, so that is, the daily gap over there. The weekly gap is going to be right there at 570.30. 570.31 to be exact. So I'm not telling you it's coming all the way back down here, but if it does, guys, it's a clear as day buying opportunity. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is where the 200 daily moving average is. This is where the 21 EMA here is on the weekly time frame. This is where our massive weekly and daily gap is sitting. This is where the daily 21 EMA is going to be. If we get a sharp decline down into this area, we're probably going to find buyers there. We talked about this on VIX literally. We're talking 1 to 2 days ago over here, and it was before this day over here, I think it was somewhere over here, and then this day happened, and we didn't make the low over there, but we started, you know, talking about, okay, if VIX ends up coming down and making a low here, it's just going to be putting in the divergence. And then I said, I don't think we're going to get anything crazy over here on VIX, but I do think we would probably pop up to this area, 2234. Why? Because you have the daily 21 EMA here, and if it's not going to be a larger spike, then we'll probably get rejected here and fizzle back out, you know, fizzle back down over here, and then, hey, all right, maybe the market ends up climbing back up. But, you know, I don't think it's something to be overly bearish on. I know over here we did end up, you know, starting a larger sell here, but I don't think that's going to be the case this time. I think we're probably going to get a, you know, decent pullback here, but I think it's something that's going to present a buying opportunity. Now, a lot of the charts that we're going to go over in this video, we're going to try and make it as quick as possible. Let's try and get out of here within 15 minutes. We got 10 minutes on the clock. It's 9 minutes on the clock, okay? So let's try and run through it. We're going to finish going over the indices here. We're going to go over SPY, QQ, VIX, IWM, DIA. We get the MAG 7 stocks. And then I have a few stocks for you to pay attention to next week on that pullback. All right. Some things that I think are going to have some outsized moves moving forward. And after, you know, all the dust is settled from what's going on right now. That's what I'll share at the end of the video. All right. But as far as SPY goes, you know, we're going to start with the downside levels because, of course, you know, the market kind of did this into the after hours close over there on Friday. And now we're trading at 588.25. So we did close the day out up here at 594.20, and we are down a whole 1.5%. Well, you know, about 1% over there. We're down about six beans from the high there over there. QQQ is the one that is down about 1.5% here. You know, just coming into the futures open on Sunday. So, you know, I don't know exactly how the market is going to open up next week. I don't know if it's, you know, futures are going to puke. We're actually going to get a Black Monday. But if I had to guess, we're probably not going to get that big of a gap down here. You know, something else we actually did also point out is the 4-hour bearish divergences that started forming. They were very, very little over here. But I am pretty sure we pointed out, you know, the comparison to what we got going on over here, right? You know, typically when you start getting these 4-hour bearish divergences, they can lead to larger pullbacks. If you are in an uptrend, those are going to be providing your buying opportunities. And that, you know, is probably going to be the same over here. You come over here to SPY and, you know, this thing is, it's sold quite a bit over here. You know, hourly RSI, it's almost oversold. If we open the day and this thing is oversold, we're probably going to be at least getting some sort of dead cat bounce. If we get some massive gap down, you know, gap down over here, we're probably going to come back up, you know, maybe push 590.49, or maybe we just push Friday's low over there at 589.28. And that would look something like, you know, you actually open somewhere over here and you pushing up here. And, you know, the 15-minute RSI, 1-hour RSI, those are going to, you know, get a little bounce there. And then you have room to go lower. And here, why do I have this as the blue level today? 582.84. Why? Because the 4-hour time frame, that is where your 4-hour 21 EMA is. And, you know, normally we are going to find buyers around there if this train's just going to keep chugging along. If we lose there, then that's just not going to be the case. Okay. You know, if you lose here, expect the price to come back to the 200-day moving average. There's no reason to make it complicated, okay? When you can read the charts, you're going to know how to trade them accordingly. And I'm telling you right now, you lose this right here, okay? I know you got 577.04, but at that point, this yellow line right here, the 200-day moving average that's currently sitting at 574.42, that is going to be acting as a magnet. All right, so, you know, under here, expect to test the 572.42, which wherever the 200-day is at the given time, expect that. Okay, on the upside, we have 594.64, 598.51, and 602.48. I wouldn't be watching those just yet because this week is very likely not going to take out the previous week's high. We are likely going to get a larger pullback here, but we are anticipating it gets bought up. If we come down here earlier on the week, we're anticipating we get bought by the end of the week. I don't think we're going to close the week out, you know, terribly bearish over there. That would kind of, you know, botch the look we have over here on the weekly time frame for the bulls. And if I had to guess, bulls are probably going to defend down there. All right. I know the credit rating, you know, has been downgraded. I understand how it's, you know, that's gone in the past. I just showed you what happened, you know, when Fitch ended up downgrading the credit over there. There's actually another one we could point to, which is November 2023. Which is right over here. I think it was one of these. I think it was like November 29th. I think I was seeing on Google. You know, right over here, Moodys ended up like they they downgraded the outlook for the US's credit. They didn't downgrade the credit rating, but they downgraded the outlook from stable to negative. And the market, it did end up pulling back a little bit here, but as you can see, we just continued up to all-time highs. So it's not anything to be concerned over there. And I don't have the exact date in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it was late November 2023, and that would fall under right over here. And if it was a little earlier, then we can see that dip ended up getting bought up either way. But you got the actual Fitch downgrade over here, and now we, these are the two major, two major credit bureaus over here for all countries, and guess what? They both downgraded the U.S. That's pretty cool. But with Trump being in office and all, I assume he's probably gonna start hating on Moody's. He's probably gonna start doing something funny online about it, or he's gonna try and start pumping the market himself. I'm not really sure, but I'll tell you right now, as far as the charts are concerned, guys, this pullback is going to present a buying opportunity. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't think we're coming all the way back down here. People could say, share their bearish thoughts online. I'm just going to ask you to just consider, who are you taking information from? Because if you got a bunch of people who their whole thesis just went to, oh, we're coming back down to lows. Just reconsider who you're taking in that information from. I'll just read the charts for you guys, okay? I'll share my thoughts, but at the end of the day, I'm going to read these charts, and there's nothing bearish to be said about these charts other than, weekly gap is still left open. Let's fill that. And that's the catalyst. The market didn't want to pull back. It would have just kept drifting higher, most likely, with how it just closed on Friday. But what happened? They needed some way to pull it back. This is a conspiracy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, okay? It's a little joke I just had. Okay, guys, nothing too serious over here. But, I'm just going to tell you, maybe they did need some news to pull the market back. Maybe that's why it came out. No, I'm kidding, okay? That was the joke I speak of, okay? These things happen, guys. I'm just telling you, pay attention to the technicals. We knew VIX was, putting in that 4-hour bullish divergence there, as we had these 4-hour bearish divergences starting to build over here on SPY and QQ. Even if you, didn't really position for this, I'm going to be completely honest, guys. I don't think you're missing any crazy short over here. I think you're probably just going to see price come back over here, and we get, a fresh reset on setups over here, where we're just going to visit some very key spots, okay? So yeah, on the upside, 594.64, 598.51, 602.48. On the downside, we're watching 590.49, and I'm just going to take off that level right there. We're just going to be watching 589.28, 585.10, 582.84, and under there, that's when, I know we have this level right here, 577.04. Just understand we're probably going to test that 200-day, and in this area over here, we're talking 570.31. You want to see buyers step in. If they don't step in here, if you start filling this gap down here at 567.50 and you don't find buyers, that is a bad thing, okay? You want to see buyers defending right over there, because if they don't, you're back underneath the 21. Bad things happen underneath the 21. We don't need to see that right now. If bulls want to remain in control, you're going to hold this whole area. And, I'll just expand this green circle. It's really looking more like that. Okay. So that's what you're watching over there in SPY. QQQ, very similar look over here, guys. You would have continued going if you didn't have this news. That's, that's just the fact there. Oh, look at that. Improve our protection. Psych. I'm protected enough. Boom, boom, boom. All right. On the downside, guys, the key level to watch is going to be 510.15. Why do I say that? 4-hour 21 EMA. You're going to be losing that. That's a key spot over there, okay? So if you do end up losing that, you don't find buyers around here, then yeah, it's the same situation as SPY over there. We're probably going to be revisiting this area over here, this 200 DMA, and that is going to be where, the weekly 21 EMA is going to be right over here. We have the daily 21 EMA is going to be right over there. We have the 200 daily moving average right there. We're going to have the big gap sitting left over. That's the weekly gap is sitting at 492.70. So, if you don't hold this area right here, we're going to say 507.89 to 510.15. If you do not hold that, okay, you have 501.48 under there, but, better yet, 200-day moving average down here, and you have the 21 EMA on the daily and the weekly time frames, as well as that weekly gap. All right. There is a chance that S&P 500 is going to test the 200-day since it's closer, and QQ is going to cut it short and just find buyers around here. That's honestly what I'm thinking the likely scenario is, guys. I'm just going to point out, it's not like this was a dead cat bounce. This isn't a trap rally or anything like this. We have volume supporting the move. Daily RSI is just getting into overbought territory. VIX Daily RSI is getting down to that spot where every single time for years and years and years, you do end up seeing that bounce. I think it's 36.50. I took it off the daily RSI for a while, but if you're not new to the channel, then you know we've talked about this for a little bit here. Guess what? You can go back to VIX's inception. Every time you get down there, this is where your bounces come from, okay? Maybe you sometimes get into oversold territory, but most of the time you don't, and you bounce from where you are right now, and then you get this 4-hour bullish divergence sitting up here. So set your alert over here for 22.34. That is where if VIX is going to start breaking above, maybe we get a larger sell going on in the market, okay? Because that's going to be above the 21 EMA. At that point, maybe it does start ticking back up. We're gonna be in the uncertain waters if that happens. So let's just hope buyers, over here for any, let's look at it this way. If you're buying the dip, odds are in your favor, okay? So if you're going to be taking the bet that's in your favor, like I'm going to be doing, all right, let's just hope buyers do defend this area like we are expecting. That's just, judge it by the charts. This is, the confluence area right here. You lose this, you do risk coming back here. You don't want to do that, okay? You don't want to do that, all right? But, we know you got above the 0.786 at this point. We are looking for all-time highs eventually. Not going to happen yet. Obviously, we're about to pull back. But after that, yeah, I do think you are going to be bought up, and maybe you don't go straight to all-time highs. They're still probably going to make it tricky because of, the kind of market we're in right now. But yeah, don't be bearish in this thing, guys. Don't see price down here and then start to, maybe you're going to make money, okay? Don't let me tell you what to do with your money. It's your money. You're in control of it. But I'll just tell you right now, you see price down here, odds favor, like I'm talking 80-20. Bulls are going to step in here and take it back up to the highs. You could try shorting right here, but again, I give it 80-20 odds. You have 20% chance of things going in your favor. Those are odds that, you want to be taking all the time. It just makes no sense. If you start losing this area, maybe we come all the way back down here to 550. Okay, you lose this right here under 561.70. Let's look at it this way. You don't hold 567.50, this gap fill right here. If you don't hold that, that's going to be where the 21 EMA is. It's going to be right here. That's where the 200 is. You lose here. Let's start watching for 550. But until then, expect the buyers here, okay? So that's SPY QQQ. As far as levels go, on the downside, we have 515.17, 513.04, 510.15, 507.89, 501.48, and then 492.70. On the upside, 521.95, 525.71, 527.92. Okay? Now, let's just quickly run through the Mag 7 stocks, guys. Weekly charts, they all closed out, insanely insanely bullish here at the high of the week. Pullbacks, buying opportunities, okay? What are you watching over here in Tessie? We're talking 307.04. That's the gap fill. I don't know if you're going to make it all the way back down there, but, I'm just going to say everything, in the after-hour session on Friday, it just started falling off a cliff. So, yes, all right? And, we're at the 20-minute mark. We're not done with the video. Let's keep going. We'll shoot for the 30-minute video. There we go. If Tesla does not hold 334.72, watch out below. You're talking 326.59 and then 307.04. So that is Tesla over there. And again, you have the bullish weekly close. Now, Google over here, it's been, a bit on the weaker side. But, I'm just going to say this daily chart, it doesn't suggest to me it's just going to start falling off a cliff. I will say this could be one giant bear flag going on here. But, as long as you hold this area right over here, 158.80, I'm going to say that's, daily chart is still holding up. If you lose this area, I think you're going to test the low of the range. You see you're kind of chopping up and down between these moving averages here, the 21 EMA. Well, if you lose 158.80, you're going to be underneath the 21. At that point, you're probably just going to come down to that next area, which is 153.83 and then 148.20. You are right near the 200 DMA. I still think you're going to get bought up on this dip for a higher low. I still think that is going to be the case. And you're probably going to test this 200 DMA there. It's just so close. It just wouldn't make sense to me. But, this is definitely the only Mag 7 stock I'm going to point to that just, except for Apple, that is just looking kind of iffy here on the weekly time frame. Apple doesn't look all that bad without close, but it did close pushing right into the weekly 21. So that is that. Amazon, let's look at it this way. You pull back into it, it's the same as the indices. Like, I know you don't have this crazy bullish look here on the weekly candle, but if you pull back into it, you're going to expect buyers over here. So watch 198.34, set your alert for that area. That's where the weekly 21 is. That's where the 200 DMA is. That's where the daily 21 EMA, if it takes another 2 days here, that's where this is going to drift up towards. So you want to hold this area. I'll just mark it out with a circle for you right here, 198.34. Set your alert. Microsoft, what do we got cooking over here? Well, it's a bullish daily chart. Well, it's a bullish weekly chart. Well, it looks like it wants to go straight for all-time highs, but oh, Moody's decided to downgrade the credit rating. And yeah, we're probably going to pull back into this area just like we have on all of the other charts, guys. You know, we're looking for this to be bought up. We have insanely bullish looks here on the daily and weekly time frame. Yeah, don't go against the odds of the market, okay? Things are, you know, trending upwards. I know we're not at all-time highs and, you know, just in that price discovery mode, but in reality, the bears kind of, you know, they folded when we got above this whole area right here. The bears kind of folded and then boom, okay? Like this is where you 575 to 585. You wanted to see the bears step in. They let you get all the way up here to 595, guys. Yeah. We're now well above here, and if we pull back, what should have acted as a supply is now going to act as demand. That's how things work, all right? And you're going to have a better time just not going against that principle. You see price down here, don't be looking to just take fresh shorts, okay? I do think, yeah, if we come down, so my buddy John over on Twitter, he shared a nice stat there. Every downgrade has resulted in at least a 2.5% down move that day. I'm pretty sure, don't fact check me, his Twitter, you can click on the link of my bio to get to my Twitter. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I reposted one of these guys. He's a great dude. You should go follow him. But yeah, I'm sure I reposted something. You can find his page by just going on there. But it's John, I think it's like the Market Sleuth. I don't know. But yeah, he's a good dude. I like his stuff. And you know, he shared that interesting stat. And I don't know if that's exactly it, but if it is, which I'm pretty sure it is, guess what? If you're not down 2.5% off the open, expect the thing to sell intraday. All right. If you get bought up, expect that to be a dead cat bounce. It's just going to reset your 15-minute RSI. Like you're coming into oversold territory. That's why, you know, I don't think you're just going to continue falling off a cliff here right away. You're probably going to get some sort of dead cat bounce if we open the day on Monday sitting over here. You know, if you just come down here, you're probably going to get this dead cat bounce to retest Friday's low, which is at 589.31. All right. So like, if you're down here, maybe you don't want to just put on a fresh short because guess what? That's 2% out of that 2.5% stat with the 15-minute RSI and probably the one hour RSI being oversold already. Wait for the dead cat bounce. Take your short op, you know, just design your trade, your short trade entry around what I'm talking about right now, okay? Just don't, you know, if you open with the 15-minute RSI, 1 hour RSI is oversold on Monday and we're already down like 2% off the open for some reason, okay? Expect it to be bought up intraday and then expect it to sell down lower to meet that 2.5% down day criteria. It doesn't have to happen, but if it's happened every time in the past, which I'm pretty sure, you know, Moody's has never downgraded US, so I don't really know. But that is something you could also keep in mind. It's just someone, I don't listen to a lot of people on Twitter because I think a lot of people are full of it. But, you know, when I see someone that, you know, their stuff is matched with how the market is moving on a consistent basis, I will gladly follow along. And yeah, in the end, I like to keep those people around me. Tight little circle. Are they circles in real life? No. Well, they're people in real life, Henry. There you go. I don't know pretty much anybody who talks about the market in real life. I really don't. So I meet online people. That is that. All right. So we're coming back over here. Microsoft, guys, expect the dip to be bought. Again, 200 DMA down there, 415. NVIDIA over here, guys, this closed out the week insanely strong. Guess what? Ahead of time over here, we drew this out. Why? Because this is a scenario we're paying attention to. If we do get the pullback here, it's going to create that scenario. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're going to have this inverse head and shoulders kind of look here. If you pull back into this area and then get bought back up here and then take out this high, you have a breakout. You're probably going straight to all-time highs. You know, we're waiting on this setup over here, and I think it's going to be coming. So you're watching 129.08, and if that doesn't hold, you're going to be watching 124.44, specifically 125. It's going to be right around that 200 DMA. Watch the 200 DMA for buyers to defend there, and that's going to probably provide your nice entry over here for that run back up if we get it. Apple over here, guys, not looking too bad, okay? But, oh, take in the after hours. Oh, it's looking like crap. All right, so underneath 208.42, we're watching 203.51, then 198.23. That was the level that was holding over here. Let's see if it holds. We're talking Meta over here, guys, who closed out with a nice reversal hammer candlestick on the day on Friday. And guess what? You gave it all back after hours because we got that downgrade. Okay, so I do think we are going to start the week off with the sell, guys. But I'm going to be watching the areas we mentioned here in this video for buyers to defend later on in the week if we get down there early in the week. All right, if we start seeing this 4-hour RSI, if it's oversold, guys, and we come into this area, guess who's a buyer? Your boy, and probably smart money. Okay, like not dumb money. They're probably going to be buyers down here. I could be wrong. But that's, typically that's how things go. We have a very, key spot here. If we retest that, you got oversold conditions, you're in an uptrend. Yeah, it's probably going to be bought. So there's all your Mag 7 stocks, guys. We're likely going to be going higher. We had some insane weekly closes here. And if you pull back and fill these weekly gaps, you're likely to, have demand sitting down there. You have buy orders sitting down there. So expect price to be supported by buyers. All right. Now let's quickly run through these trade ideas going into the following week for you. All right. The first one that I'm just going to highlight here is ARM. You had a crazy close to the week over here. I've seen a bunch of dated ARM calls. They just keep coming in day after day. I don't know what the catalyst is going to be, but I do think this thing has a catalyst right around the corner, considering the last 2 weeks. We've just had a lot of ARM calls just keep coming in here. 2027. That's honestly, that's the way over here for, I'm going to say Tesla July calls. These are just getting hammered. July, September calls over here. And then, of course, the data calls. They just keep getting hammered over here on Tesla. So I'd argue Tesla is the most bullish on this pullback over here. If you revisit this area, that's a buying opportunity. This thing is likely going to be up here in the end. I don't know all-time highs, but I'm telling you, there is a whale betting on new all-time highs over here for the July expiration. So, hey, do what you want with that information. I'd say probably buy the dip if it's coming down here, but again, no financial advice will be given on this channel. Okay. So ARM over here, if you revisit this area, we're talking 126.36. That is the spot to hold. Now, honestly, you're at the 200 DMA right now, like you're underneath it now. It would have been great just to continue a little bit higher over here and then pull back, and you would be expecting buyers over here, okay? But 126.36, that's going to be, this inverse head and shoulders style neckline we got going on. I know it's not going to be perfect right over here, but this is very clearly the spot that we want to defend. So if we see buyers, or if we see price come back down into this area, we want buyers to step in, okay? So that is ARM. The next one I have for you is going to be Rocket Lab. Now, I gave this one to you on this day right here. I told you to watch for the breakout or the break above that high at 24.52. We got both. All right. So you got that right there. But I'm just going to highlight the weekly chart, guys. If this pulls back, it's, the same concept we've been talking about the whole freaking video. Pull back. We're going to look for buyers with this confluence, and, pull back. This is where you broke out from over here on the weekly chart. This is where you had this little base above the other, you had structure building out here. Boom. Now you're building on that bullish structure there. You had increasing volume on the week. Yeah, if you pull back into these highs over here, we're going to be expecting buyers. And the level to watch is going to be 23.77. All right, we're watching 23.20 to 23.77. Moving on over to cost, right? So cost, it did close out the week in this bullish manner. I do still think this is going to be continuing higher. I know we had the bearish Moodys, we have it, okay? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It happened. We're probably going to have this gap down on Monday. We're probably going to have that, minus 2 to 3% day on Monday. And I do think later in the week, we're probably going to be bought. I don't know if this is going to turn into a large event. I really have no idea, but I'll tell you, these charts are not set up in a bearish manner across the board. They're just not. All right. Whereas in the past, I showed you August 1st, 2023, like you were set up in that bearish manner. You were, in that corrective process. We just went through our corrective process, and now at a face ripping rally towards all-time highs, now we get a pullback that could really provide some volatility here, which I'm looking forward to, because these intraday moves the past few days have literally been watching, paint dry. And yes, you can pull out some money from them, but like you're waiting like 1 to 2 hours for the thing to go, like SPY to go $1. It's like, what the heck is going on here? Well, volatility is very low. VIX is, at the lowest level it's been at in a while, okay? All right, but cost over here, guys, I don't know if it's going to be moving the market, okay? So it's something that I'm definitely going to be paying attention to over here, and I'm still thinking we could see, 1040 to 1060 come pretty quick once the move actually starts. And I think it just started. I think, now we're finally getting proof that this was your correction here, and you're breaking above 1018 there. Yeah, if you retest this spot, which, in the after hours, we already are underneath it. But, if we open around here, start looking for buyers here. If you start coming back down to 995, this is probably clip. You're probably going to lose this and start a larger correction over here, okay? Hood. This is one that I'm interested on the dip, okay? But, you know, again, it's going to be this area where we have these big weekly gap ups. We'll see if we get them. I don't know if we will, but, you know, so far we're almost down to that low end of the wick over here, down to 57.27. So if we don't hold 57.27, we're going to watch 54.84 and more specifically 52.65. That's where the daily 21 is. These two levels right here is where we want to hold between 52.65 and 54.84. If you don't hold here, we're going to watch for buyers here. I mean, either way, we're buying this dip over here. We're looking for new highs after that. The chart is insane. All right, so that's Hood. Walmart is one. I don't know if it's going to be moving with the market. I really have no idea, but I'll tell you right now, I'm looking to buy dips into this area. Okay, so June calls, guys, on a $2.50 move. They will be moving about 50% for you. All right, I'm telling you, when you're trending over here at Walmart, this is something where you can just keep buying these dips, okay? And you will, you know, most of the time that day, you'll get like, you know, either half of that 250 move or you will get the $2.50 move, you know, within 1 to 2 trading sessions. And yeah, that right there is your key to consistently bringing in those 25, 50%, you know, gainers on a consistent basis on Walmart. We're talking several trades, okay? So this is something that's going to be marching up to all-time highs. Typically, when we see a look like this, we'll come back to the scene of the crime and we will revisit the lower wick right here, okay? This isn't something that's, you know, just telling me we're going to start skyrocketing over here. We're probably going to spend some time in that lower wick, build out some more bullish structure here, and then when we break above that, break this high over here, 99.50, then we look for the move to all-time highs. All right, so that's Walmart. Now we're talking Ookla. So this is one, you know, we talked about over here. And I think dips, yeah, they're buying opportunities. Ideally, we do get a big dip over here, just something like that, and we come back to, you know, probably 31.46. I'm going to be looking to buy there. That's ideally where buyers are going to defend. You're going to have the daily 21 sitting over here. But, you know, this would look like a really constructive chart if you just pulled back to right here and ended up getting bought back up. It would look really good for that continuation style move. All right, so that's Ookla. Last one we're going to talk about is going to be here on Rivian. So this one I put on your radar about a week ago. It was somewhere in last week's candle. We were watching 1534. Why? Because that's where your trend line is over here. If you get a close above there, you're getting a close above that upper trend line. Guys, this thing's just marching higher. I don't know if it's going to really care too much about what the market does. I think we are going to get these pullbacks. Let's look at it this way. We have a bunch of these 4-hour bearish divergences on, you know, most of these stocks, right? NVIDIA, I believe, had, yeah, so NVIDIA had one, Microsoft had one, Google had one over there, Tesla, I believe, also had them. You know, the market was kind of filled with these things coming into Friday. I think we mentioned it in the Thursday video. I'm pretty positive we did. And it doesn't mean you're going to immediately be selling over here, and we could stay overbought, and I do think we're probably going to stay up here. But what it does tell you when you see them is stuff like this. You can build them out, get the pullback. By the time things get oversold over here, if you're in an aggressive uptrend like we are right now, that's going to provide your buying opportunity, okay? And then you build out more, and then you pull back a little bit. Doesn't have to be something crazy, but you're expecting this RSI to reset. You want it to come back into the middle area. We'll say cross the 50 line. Well, then it comes back up, and what happens? You have a lower high over here. You build out more divergences, and then you start another pullback. All right, you know, that's just how it works. And when these things happen, they mark, you know, what's probably going to be a correction in that uptrend, and then the dip gets bought. All right, so that's what I'm still going to be expecting. All right, so that's what I have for you guys today. I'm definitely just going to highlight over here on Rivian, guys. Buying into this 1445 level right here, I will make that our new blue level. That is the level of interest that we're going to be paying attention to. I think you are going to lose 1534 no matter what. And then it depends on what happens over here, because if you don't hold here, yeah, that's where the 21 EMA is going to come into play. And, you know, at that point, you got to hold 1350, or this actually is going to have a full-on rewind or unwind of this whole move. And we're coming all the way back down here. And you don't want to take out that low, okay? You have the 200 sitting here. At that point, bad things happen. You would probably get a dead cat bounce, but, you know, it would probably look something like that in the end if you came back down there. Now, the ideal scenario is you come back somewhere over here, build out some structure, and build something here, and then launch off of that. Use that as your launch pad, okay? So that's what I'm watching into next week, guys. we are expecting things to continue pulling back here. We already started overnight on Friday. And I think that's going to continue on to start the week, maybe into the middle of the week. And then we'll just assess what's happening when we get down here. But automatically, we are going to expect buyers down here, okay? So if we start seeing it, that's where we want to be putting on, the decent amount of risk. We want to start putting stuff back on there, all right? And I do think it's like 80-20 that you would get buyers in these areas. It's across the board. Every single ticker we got, the Mag 7s, the indices over here, they all have this massive like weekly gap. Okay, if we come back into a lot of them align with the 200 days, we're probably going to get long-term investors and just buyers in general. People who are sitting on the sidelines on this, they're just waiting. Okay, or the profit takers, people are taking the profits here. They're going to be buying back at lower prices. That's going to be that next key area. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I know it was longer than that 20-minute video I was trying to shoot for. But, I'm just going to say we have a lot of information shoved in these videos. It really is a one-stop shop without you having to spend a dime. You don't have to pay us anything here. We have a YouTube video for you 5 days a week, 4 days of the, of the week, the weekdays there. And then we have the weekend update where we will share how we are, thinking price is going to be moving and what we're going to be looking for and the reactions we're going to be looking for into that following week. And also the trade ideas. I do try and share those almost every single video. Okay, so it is a one-stop shop for anybody who wants to pull money out of this market. I will give you guys the consistent trade ideas to do so. If you want to come trade with me, that is going to be the link down below. I'll be live trading every morning. And yeah, that's about it. Please remember to like the video. And if you are new here, please remember to hit the subscribe button and then hit that bell so you will be notified. So you will be prepared to take advantage of the market every time we post a video. You will get it right to your phone. All right. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed today's video and I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.